All right, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to our NorthForce Business Meet and Greet. My name is Amber Lewis. I'm a Lead for Minnesota Fellow serving Northspan as their Welcoming Community Program Coordinator and working with NorthForce to host our business meet and greets this year. Today we have our first business meet and greet for the spring, and we're excited to have our organizations here, Duluth Seaway Port Authority and North Shore Adventure Park. To get started, we'll just go through a brief overview of our agenda. And I'd also like to mention we had Apex scheduled to present today, but Ian Vincent, who was going to present for them, had to cancel due to the weather and his travel plans being interrupted because of that. So we will not have Apex today, but we're excited to have the Seaway Port Authority and North Shore Adventure Park here. So here's our agenda for the day. We'll have just some brief Zoom introductions. Then we'll probably have a little less than 40 minutes. I don't know if we're going to have 20-minute long presentations from our presenters, but they'll present for maybe 10 to 15 minutes each. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end of the session. So we might get out a little bit early today. And of course, we are in Zoom today. Most of you are pretty familiar with that. You have the ability to control your mic and your camera. Feel free to use the chat function there on the bottom of your screen to communicate with us if you need. When we get to the Q&A section, feel free to come off of mute and ask your questions. So let's get to our presentations. As I said, first we're going to have Duluth Seaway Port Authority and then North Shore Adventure Park. So to start, we're going to have those introductions. I'm going to ask Allie, our NorthForce consultant, to briefly introduce herself. And then I would love to have our participants who are in the room to introduce yourselves as well. I'll kind of call on you to do that so that we get to know everybody in the room today. Allie, would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I sure will. Hi, I'm Allie Building-Camps, and I'm the Strategy and Development Consultant for NorthForce, working with Northspan. And I met Kate recently at an event last week, which turned out really well. I thought it was a really great event. And Colin, I've had the pleasure of working with you over email, so it's really nice to see you in person. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the Seaway Port Authority and North Shore Adventure Park. So I'm the person that you come to if you need some help with posting jobs or really anything that has to do with working on the NorthForce website, or if you just want to chat about what the climate looks like for candidates and job seekers out there, you can certainly shoot me an email, and I'm always happy to meet for coffee or meet via Zoom and just get to know you a little bit more. So thank you, and welcome to our other participants. It's really nice to be here.
Thank you, Allie. We're glad to have you here. William, would you introduce yourself? Feel free to just tell us your name and why you're here today.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is William Munter, and I'm currently a college student first year at Itasca Community College studying business management and accounting right now. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about job opportunities in the area and just kind of business in general. So thank you. Great.
Thank you, William. Brooke, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brooke. I am currently a first-year PSEO student at ICC. I'm just getting my generals done so I can graduate with my associates and my high school diploma. And I just came today to learn a little bit more about business and that kind of world and getting into it more.
Great, thank you, Brooke. And Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Stanton. I am currently working with the Inn on Madeline Island. I found NorthForce through posting jobs and things like that. And then I found some other great events to attend and some links to all kinds of things. So it really opened a fun, cool world for me to experience. Obviously, I mean, maybe I'm partial, but one of the most beautiful places on the planet, which is the North Shore, northern area. So excited. This is a journey. I'm currently living in Massachusetts, but we'll be journeying back to that area come April. So excited to make that transition. And for today, it was really just getting to know some additional people for additional resources. I love connection, collaboration. You just never know what can happen and how we can all support each other in this day and age and with community.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you for being here today, Christine. Yeah, great point. This is a wonderful networking opportunity, especially when we have a small group like we have today. Great opportunity to get to know some new people in the area. All right, so thank you so much for being here, everybody. To start, we're going to pass it off to Kate. Please feel free to share your screen and tell us about yourself and Duluth Seaway Port Authority.
Sure.
I will stop my share here so you can, there you go.
How's that look?
Looks great.
Great. Well, good afternoon, and thanks for having me. And of course, thanks for being here to the three of you so interested in, making new connections and learning about new business or just growing business or just the business of the Twin Ports. Yeah, I'm Kate Ferguson. I'm the Director of Trade and Business Development at the Duluth Seaway Port Authority. So first, let me just give you an overview on what the Port Authority is. The Port Authority was created in the 1950s by the Minnesota legislature, and we were really given three parts of our mission that still drive us today. And those three pieces are bring business to the port. So I want to be really clear when I say port. We at the Duluth Seaway Port Authority are very agnostic to the Duluth or Superior side of the harbor, meaning I don't care which side business happens on, I just want it to happen. So bringing business to the port means Duluth, Superior, Minnesota, Wisconsin, our region. I don't care. It could be just the Great Lakes. We want more business to our port and to our region. Second is economic development to our region. And so I'm sad that Ian wasn't able to join us today. Apex is a great partner of the Duluth Seaway Port Authority, and we rely on Apex and Northspan and then very many other economic development agencies to partner with us to bring new businesses, new clients, new industries to our region. And the way we mostly do our economic development is very transportation based. So we really focus on making sure that the folks that want to join into the Twin Ports or move a business to the Twin Ports or even just grow their current business can have success using the supply chain opportunities that are in the Twin Ports. And lastly, we advocate. We do a lot of advocacy work. We advocate for maritime. We advocate for transportation. And I think the biggest piece that maybe people don't realize all the time is that we advocate for the industrial nature of business. So Duluth Superior's industrial front on the waterfront is very critically important to us. So why am I here today? What am I going to talk to you about? Well, I'm not necessarily going to talk to you more than I just have about the Duluth Seaway Port Authority. There are only 9 of us that work there. We're all pretty specialized. But I really want to talk to you about the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system. I want to talk to you about the waterfront and the jobs on our working waterfront. I want to talk about jobs that are on our water, not just on the waterfront, but actually moving along. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about why that's important and kind of the economy that we support at the Duluth Seaway Port Authority. So first, maybe I will tell you a little bit about my educational background, because people often say to me, well, Kate, how did you get into the role you are in? So let me just explain that I grew up in the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. I grew up on the shores of Lake Huron. And on the shores of Lake Huron was this very large cement plant in my city. And I was a lifeguard on the beach for 5 years. And I loved watching the ships come in and out of our harbor, much like we do here in the port of Duluth Superior, right? Ships are the #1 tourist attraction in our port. So what I didn't realize was there is a massive, massive amount of employment that goes into the shipping industry and moving those ships in and out of our harbor. So I came to college at the University of Wisconsin-Superior to play hockey. I ended up working on a computers degree because my dad was like, just get some degree, And while I was there, I had a great advisor who helped me find my passion. And my passion really was transportation and the ships in the harbor. And so I transitioned to a transportation logistics management degree. I have 2. So I have a transportation logistics management, computer information systems double major from the University of Wisconsin-Superior. And then I worked for the railroad, managing their fleet of ships on the Great Lakes for nearly a decade. And so managing a fleet of ships, what does that look like? I did everything from billing to actually dispatching the ships, telling them where to go, where to pick up, where to deliver, and all the way up into contracting. So then I was in sales and marketing, managing $100 million contracts, and making sure that they were deployed appropriately. So, and the greatest thing is if you work for a company that believes in you and you're passionate about your work, they invested in me. I got my MBA from the University of Minnesota Duluth for free, 100% for free, including a 1 month study abroad to China while I was being paid and working. So, you know, believe in your passions, follow your passions, and they'll land you in a really great place. I left the railroad about 7 years ago and have been at the Port Authority for about 6. And I just love my career, and I love coming to speak with you today. So thank you again for having me. So that's a little bit about me. Let's get into the nitty gritty then. So, you know, a lot of people that live in this region or don't live in this region don't understand the critical influence that the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway has and how exactly Duluth connects to the globe. And so this slide shows you that the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system is this binational waterway. It truly has to have both the US government and the Canadian government working together in order to make it function. There are 16 locks to get a ship from Duluth, Minnesota to the Atlantic Ocean. That's because Duluth is 600 feet above sea level. Sea level is sea level. So we've got to move a ship from 600 feet above to 0. So that's what all those locks and dams do for us. The system as a whole is marketed as Highway H2O. So you'll see that Highway H2O in the upper left-hand corner, and that is how we actually globally brand the system as a whole. You might also see us called the 4th seacoast for the North America. So let's, where does Duluth Superior fit into that a little bit? Well, we are the headwaters. So like I said, we're 600 feet, ocean is 0. So you have to go down. So all the water that supports the system comes from our headwaters. We are the largest tonnage port on the Great Lakes. That's by tonnage, not by value. So really important to understand. Value would be like, you know, if you took the value of all of LA's containers, one container's value worth might be worth our entire port of raw materials. We are a very natural resource, raw material based port. We typically rank in the top 20 ports in the United States. Last year, not so much. We were hit by the COVID pandemic, but that is typically in the top 20. And we typically handle about 35 million short tons of cargo each year. Almost 900 vessel visits. Like I said before, one of the #1 tourist attractions in Duluth is coming down to sit on our waterfront and watch the ships come and go. So although they're economic impact is really in the cargo, industrial, raw material sector, I believe that Duluth greatly benefits by having these ships come and go because of the tourist attraction that it creates. And so what is that economic impact? I think it's so important to understand that the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system, if you created a little country around the 8 Great Lakes states and 3 Canadian provinces, it would be the 3rd largest GDP in the world. 3rd largest GDP in the world. That tells you how much activity, manufacturing, materials comes in and out of our region in order to really make our region prosper. But it also really helps Duluth and Duluth Superior and our region prosper as well. You can see the Port of Duluth Superior there has 8,000 jobs. That's just related to the water. That's not the railroads. That's not the truckers. That's not all of those other inland pieces that you need. This is just workers touching our waterfront. And I really like that last figure is that 240 million of tax revenue generated. And you're going to see a tax revenue generated number again a little later in my presentation. But I often tell people, you know, we can't have the roads, trails, services that we so enjoy in any one of our cities without tax revenues generated, which is also why our economic development mission is so important, because as you grow the tax base, you get more tax revenue and we're able to support more services in our community, which can only make our community better. So we are very fortunate to have these businesses in our community. So yeah, the Port of Duluth Superior really is a place of numerous, workforce opportunities. So on this map, you're going to see over 20 facilities. So let's just talk really briefly about kind of the land-based jobs that are available in our harbor. Our land-based jobs are, they're located here in the Twin Ports. You're not on a ship, you're not transiting somewhere. You may have a headquarters that's somewhere else, but for the majority of your time, you're based right here in the Port of Duluth Superior. So you can see the 20 or so facilities there. They're spread out along our waterfront, both on the Superior and Duluth side. They handle all kinds of things. That top left corner is coal that's used for power production. They have about 80 employees there. And those employees are from, laborers all the way up to the president of that company are all housed right here in the Port of Duluth Superior. They have heavy equipment operators, they have planners, schedulers, people that need logistics degrees, people that need no degrees, people that they can train on site. So industry really provides that very diverse availability for a diverse population to get into a job, because there are a multitude of levels at which you can come in and work, especially upon our waterfront. So that middle one is a cement silo. They have few workers, but they make a huge economic impact. The right-hand picture there is a grain silo. So you're looking at a silo that employs 30 or so people constantly, full time. That's from laborers again to the general manager, and then their headquarters is in Minneapolis. So you have people of all kinds of varieties there. But then they also employ, when they have a ship, a whole nother union with gangs of employees that actually help them load the vessel. So you're not just looking at the employment that's in the facility alone, you're looking at also those that they have to employ in order to function. And then the bottom left picture is a picture of the Superior Iron Ore Facility. Again, look at all that structure and think about all like the maintenance and operations people it takes to keep that structure functioning, to keep it functional. Because a ship sitting even for an hour waiting for a delay can cost between $3,000 and $5,000 for an hour. So you do not want a ship just sitting awaiting for a facility to be ready to handle them. We have one facility on our harbor that's different, and that is the Clore Public Marine Terminal. And so every other facility you just saw handles a raw material or some sort of dry bulk material that flows nicely, so it can go on a conveyor belt, or it can make a nice little pile. Well, the Clore Public Marine Terminal doesn't make nice little piles. Everything it has needs a crane or a forklift or some sort of specialty handling equipment. You can see containers on site. We need specialty container handlers. There are a variety of jobs here. If you just look at the container side, we often have carpenters, we have welders, and we have equipment drivers. So again, this facility houses everybody from laborer to the owner of the company, all here in Duluth, Minnesota. So if that gives you an idea, there are 45 people or so that work there. They have HR, they have people in HR, they have people in accounting. They have, people in inventory management. They have customer service, because believe it or not, truckers love a good person that's a customer service agent. So just again, the variety of positions. Don't think I'm getting an accounting degree, I can't work in industry, because the reality is you can be a critical part of industry with an accounting degree. And then of course there's jobs on the water. And I think, yes, that's a picture of me long ago on one of the ships that I was managing. And so again, these jobs are just so unique. Yes, they take a specialty person a little bit, one that's full of adventure, yet still like some independence, and some maybe alone time. Ships on the Great Lakes, if you get on a US flag laker, you can have you'll make port every 3 days. You could be home if you lived in Duluth Superior and were on the right ship, you could be home every week. And you're not gonna be home for a long time, but you get to see your family every week. Again, these are people that have zero education, all the way up to you could get, if you worked up the hawse pipe, which is just kind of a way of working your way up, you could become a captain in 15 years, 10, 12 years, maybe, depending on how, vigorous you want to go after it. Or you can go get a 4-year degree, get your captain's license and cut that down by several years just to get your time behind the wheel. But I think there's oftentimes a misconception that the only jobs related to a fleet is on the ship. And that is not true whatsoever. In fact, this fleet is managed in Duluth. And so they have about 20 or so office workers on top of the 300, 400 sailors that they employ. And again, this is accounting, billing, dispatch, management, operations, maintenance, all of the above. So again, a lot of opportunity on board or on shore for the ships. I just want to point out, we do a lot of infrastructure work as well. So as part of the growing economic development and business in the port, it means that a lot of our infrastructure needs to be revamped. So we work with a lot of engineers, a lot of companies that do, you know, soundings for slips and different, you know, dock wall projects, substructure projects. But we also work really close with like MnDOT and WisDOT in order to make sure that the infrastructure projects they are doing can still handle all of the product we are needing to move. So really important partnership and collaboration between all modes of transportation. And I'm really thankful to say that the ports of Duluth Superior really work well together. So we're very fortunate there. We touch every part of your life, whether you believe it or not. Here, even in the Port of Duluth Superior, we touch every part of your life. This is a smattering of things that we have moved through our port. And a lot of people say, well, Kate, how does Amazon fit into the Port of Duluth Superior? Well, if you're from Duluth Superior, a lot of your packages are going to come from the Shakopee warehouse for Amazon. We actually handled all their backup generators through the Port of Duluth in order to make sure that that facility, if it had a electrical malfunction or something happened with their electrical grid, they could still power themselves with the backup generators. So things as simple as that you just don't think about every day, let alone pull out a box of Barilla out of your cupboard and say, wow, this probably came from a Minnesota or North Dakotan farmer, and it may have even touched the Port of Duluth Superior. And the reason that we do this work, and this is what I really wanted to hone in on, I see I am going far too long, but Duluth by the numbers here, this is why we support economic development and especially industrial economic development, is because we support growth for families, the equitable jobs, and we do it well. These are just Duluth numbers, but you can see here the industrial wages and income is substantially higher than any other job in our economy. And I want to be really clear, we did not pit this industrial versus any other particular sector. That's against the entire rest of the economy in Duluth. So, you know, just remember that industry not only has a ton of opportunity, but it also has a really good chance of paying you well and giving you a livable wage so you can save for retirement, maybe pay for your kids' education, and help stimulate jobs in the rest of the economy. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Colin.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. That was very informative. I feel like I'm going to have to go watch the video afterwards just to begin to digest all that information, but so informative, so many things that I didn't know. So thank you. But yeah, Colin, if you are ready to present, you can go ahead and share your screen, and Kate, you can unshare yours so that, yep, there we go. Perfect. All right, Colin, we're excited to hear from you. Feel free to introduce yourself. And
yeah, absolutely. I'll get this up and started first.
And everybody can be thinking about any questions you have for Kate. We will be doing our Q&A at the end for Colin and Kate. So be thinking about those questions.
Okay, so everyone can see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes, looks good.
All right, sounds good. So just a brief overview on who I am. My name is Colin Lynch. I am the park manager for the North Shore Adventure Park in Silver Bay. We're one of the newest tourist attractions on the North Shore and the newest high rope obstacle course, aerial challenge course in the state. So I've been with the park since the beginning of last season. So I have learned a lot and My background is starting from an environmental studies degree from the University of Minnesota Morris. I wore a lot of hats and did a lot of different jobs. Worked for the West Central Minnesota Chemical Assessment Team doing emergency response. I did dangerous goods shipping and handling for FedEx Express, wildland firefighting, project management for an environmental laboratory. I've worn a lot of hats throughout my life and career. So eventually I had decided that I wanted a career that was more fulfilling than what I had experienced previously. And that drew me up from the Twin Cities, where I was born and raised, to the North Shore. And I explored my options there. The Seaport Authority was actually a place that I looked, got as far as my Merchant Mariner credential. So a nod of the hat there to Kate and her organization. But just through a personal connection, I found myself with the North Shore Adventure Park. One of the reasons that I'm here today is that a lot of the perspective about seasonal and tourism and recreation opportunities on the North Shore is that they are just that, very temporary. And that is true to the extent that you want it to be. If you're looking for something to do between semesters on summer break from college, that's perfectly fine. We're happy to have you. But I'll go into it a little bit further. The standards that we adhere to and the governing bodies that we work with for challenge course technology. If you want a long-term career, specifically in high rope obstacle course, zip lines, climbing walls, and a lot of different facets of the outdoor recreation and tourism hospitality industry, we're a great place to start. So we'll jump right in. Looks like, there we go. So first and foremost, our product is fun. Our product is an experience. We serve over 10,000 individuals each season coming through our park. And really what we provide for them is an experience. And being part of that experience is a very fulfilling career pathway for me particularly. And everyone that we've had work with us has had a fairly similar experience. We are located in Silver Bay. I would guess in the North Force community, there's not too much confusion as to where that is exactly, but about 50 some miles north of Duluth along the shore, about halfway between Duluth and Grand Marais. So an area that has a lot to offer in its natural beauty. And I think we're pretty well placed for an outdoor adventure experience. I also have a recruitment video that I'd like to share, just because when I try to explain just verbally what an outdoor adventure course is, if people don't have firsthand experience with it, there tends to be some confusion about what I mean. So I'm going to share this with you. It's just a couple minutes long. I have not used an embedded video in a PowerPoint sharing on Zoom before, so hopefully the sound comes through. It's not too loud or too quiet.
No, we're not getting sound right now, Colin. Yeah, I don't think the sound's working on this one.
I beg your pardon?
We're not getting the sound on this.
Okay. No sound. All right, well, technical issues. This is available on our website, northshoreadventurepark.com. I apologize to send you somewhere else when I have it here, but it's not going to serve us too well just to sit here and have you watch this with no sound. But this is a brief snapshot of what we do, what our park looks like. I'll explain it in a little more detail. We're a tourist destination. We do family groups, friend groups, as well as corporate and nonprofit groups who come up for team bonding, family get-togethers, reunions. We've had bachelorette parties. We've had wedding receptions at our park. So we are really open to any guest or group that wants to come experience what we have to offer. Our staff is mostly from the North Shore of Minnesota. We do bring in workers from all over the country and all over the world. So you'll be able to meet a variety of people working with us. We have J1 visa students that join us from year to year. We have 65 different aerial obstacles. It's physically challenging, but we do offer levels of difficulty that are accessible to any guest or climber. 5 different levels, 4 of them are specifically for ages 7 and up. The last one is for ages 3 to 6 before they're of the weight and height requirements to be on the main course. It's a self-guided experience. What we do is orient them to the course and monitor them for their safety and enjoyment. Dual racing zipline, if you've driven up the highway anytime recently and gone past Silver Bay, this is immediately adjacent to the highway. So you may have had a good look at what the experience is. We have our Little Rascals course. Again, that's the one I mentioned for ages 3 to 6. And we've also built in this last season a Strider bike course for kids as well. We're also bringing axe throwing to the North Shore. If anyone here has been to Duluth, the Blacklist Brewery, they've had a lot of success with their axe throwing. It's kind of become the new exciting thing to do, and we're happy to bring it to the park this season. So working at the park, as I mentioned earlier, you can get out of this experience what you want to get out of it. Some people come up just for the season. A lot of students between high school and college come up for an exciting experience to have while they're on their summer breaks. We have a variety of different positions available. Retail and hosting, ground team, axe coaches, air team monitors. We try to be as an inclusive company as possible, whatever people are comfortable with. If they want to be up in the air helping people, if they are athletic and they enjoy the excitement of that, that's wonderful. We also have people who very much prefer to keep their feet on the ground, and that is absolutely fine. We have a position and a place within our group for anyone who's interested. It's a really gratifying job. There are few places that I've worked personally where the experience that you are providing for them is a fun one. People are there to have a good time, and that energy is infectious. We provide in-depth training all season. We're not going to throw people out into this experience without knowing what they're doing. We spend at least 40 hours at the beginning of the season, as well as with recurrency training throughout the year to make sure that you're knowledgeable, prepared, and comfortable for what it is you're doing. We have a strong focus on safety. That is our #1 priority at the park, followed by the enjoyment of our guests. And we follow the ACCT standards and protocols. So this is what I meant when I said we adhere to a governing body. The ACCT is the Association for Challenge Course Technology. They are the standard writer for most, if not all, challenge course, aerial courses, climbing gyms, zipline canopy tours, anything that is not specifically a mechanical amusement ride that puts you up in the air, the ACCT governs. So we are a member of the ACCT. We follow their standards and protocols. If you are interested in a career in outdoor recreation, tourism, hospitality, anything like that in the adventure world, this is a great place to start and see what you think of it. having spent my last season doing this, I can't really think of too many other things that I'd rather be doing right now. So we've had former employees who have gone off to work as guides in other parks doing high ropes facilitation. We've had people that have gone to work for other parks across the country, in California, on the East Coast in Connecticut. There are a lot more opportunities in this field than I think a lot of people realize. And if this is something that interests you as a career, I think coming up and seeing how we do things would be a great opportunity for you to find out if this is going to be something for you. We are on the North Shore. It's a beautiful place to spend your summer. And close to everything, well, depends on what you like to do. Silver Bay has a lot to offer in terms of natural beauty, state parks, hiking, kayaking. It's a place that I have learned to enjoy. Coming from the cities, there's a little bit of a change, but you're never too far away from anything. And it's really something that you'll come to appreciate spending that much time. We understand that being a little bit off the beaten path, housing for temporary employees can be an issue. We do provide some limited housing within walking distance to the park that is available for rent. We are welcoming and inclusive. Anyone that thinks that this is something that they want to do, we can find a place for you. We hire students, teens, adults. Last season, our youngest employee was 16 years old and our oldest employee was 70. So we run quite a range. And again, if you're looking for something temporary seasonal, that's great. If you're looking to get a grounding that you can use as a jumping off point for a career in this industry, that's great too. So we are hiring for the 2022 season. That's the thrust of this pitch. You can check out our website, northshoreadventurepark.com. You'll be able to see that video that I somewhat unsuccessfully tried to share. The sound will be available there. And if you have any other questions or comments, concerns, anything like that we don't get to in the Q&A, I can always be reached at parkmanager@northshoreadventurepark.com. Easy to remember, a little bit of a mouthful to say and type. So that's about all I have.
Well, thank you, Colin. That was amazing. I'm glad to see we have such a exciting and fun place in Silver Bay. I actually didn't know this was here until, we started setting up this business meet and greet. So I'm glad to hear a little bit more about it. Zipline
Part of the reason I'm
racing.
here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Zipline racing is in my future. So with that, I would love to transition a little bit into a Q&A session. If we have any questions to start off, feel free to go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
I've got a quick question here. Colin, I actually had written down a bunch of questions and you answered all of them. It was housing, it was age requirement, but I was wondering, do you have a skills requirement? Or I know you did mention training on the job.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are looking for a park supervisor or assistant manager, someone who's looking for more of a career in this field.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like them to have some experience with ACCT standards or with other job facilities and types that adhere to those standards. Sure. So a lot of what goes on in this industry is summer camps. YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, a lot of religious organizations run summer camps where people get exposed to this. That tends to be a lot of people's first introduction to aerial challenge courses. So anyone from that world. For the general positions of our air crew, ground crew, hosts, all that sort of stuff, we will provide all the training that you need. I mentioned that we do go into at least 40 hours of training at the beginning of the season because we want to be able to ground people in the basics of what they need to know. We also do ongoing recurrency training for staff who want more information, are really having a great time and want to know more, and just to keep people fresh on, the requirements of the job and what they need to be familiar with. So.
Great, very cool. And how many employees do you usually have?
So we usually have 15 to 25 based on the year and the applicants. We always prefer to have more. The more people that we can introduce to this, the better, I think. We have a lot of employees who come to us at the end of the year and tell us it was one of the best summertime experiences that they've had before. And a few that have said that they had such a great time that they want to continue on and do this professionally. And that's always, I think, the highest compliment that we can get as a business. So.
Very cool. Well, just looking at the pictures and then looking out my window at the snow, oh my gosh, I'm so ready for summer.
Yes, yes, definitely.
It was just nice to see green and water.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Then actually, I've got a question for Kate. You talked about a lot of different jobs that are available on the waterfront and in that area. In your experience, do most of those jobs provide on-the-job training or internships? Is that pretty common?
Yeah, it's both are very common for our waterfront businesses. So getting onto a ship is a little different, and hopefully the Port Authority can work with potentially LSC here in the future to give like a Port 101 for people that want to get aboard a ship, just because there is a little bit of a process there. But as far as the land-based jobs go, a lot of on-the-job training. Sometimes you have to be a part of a union to get in, and that's okay, or you get in and join the union. And then, yeah, it really depends on the position. But for instance, Compass Minerals, which is our salt plant, has multiple positions available right now. And all they say is, if you can show up on time and put in your shift, we will train you to do anything and everything we do under our roof. So yes, there's just an abundance of opportunities, and I feel like I'm missing part of your question. What was the other part?
No, that was the internships or on the job training. And you said most of them do.
So I would say the internship side of the house has a lot more to do with our college programs. So particular UWS's transportation logistics program, which I was a part of, there are often at least a handful of those internships around the harbor. I would say that, based on need, I guess, we don't understand necessarily at the port how many college programs require an internship in order to graduate. I think that would be interesting to find out what kind of programs those would be, and if there would be a place to place those folks that may need an internship as well.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Great questions. Thank you, Allie. Oh.
Yeah, I saw something. Colin, did you put something in the chat?
Yeah, so there was something that came to mind right about as soon as I finished that I wanted to mention in terms of job training. So as I said, we do a lot of on-the-job training, both preemptively and recurring. But for people who do want to be more career focused in this industry and are interested in working with us year over year, the Association for Challenge Course Technology, as the governing body, offers a lot of sponsored trainings throughout the year all over the country. There's an annual professional conference that is an opportunity for people who want to take a more professional track with the North Shore Adventure Park and get exposed to I guess a broader range of trainings and certifications that are offered. So
cool. Great. Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Both Kate and Colin, one thing I really appreciated that you shared was a little bit of your career path to kind of how you got to where you are today. And so I was thinking, how or what advice maybe would you give? We have some students on the call today. What advice would you give to kind of find that fulfilling career path to those maybe people that are in that searching stage?
Colin, you've definitely had more of a meandering career, although I was going to tell you I am a volunteer firefighter. So yeah, I definitely understand that portion of it. Yeah, for me, as a student especially, I found that my advisors often could see me in a slightly different light, especially when you're going to a smaller college or university. I would latch on to some advisors or professors that seem to have your best interest at heart, or maybe are trying to make a connection with you. In my case, my advisor led me to the transportation logistics program because he kind of saw how my brain worked and said, I think this might actually be a really good fit for you. And then I got to know my advisor and my professor in the transportation and logistics program, who is still my mentor to this day, Dr. Richard Stewart. And we continue to be good friends. And he has helped me grow, expand, and help me pursue my passion. So when he saw, it's interesting, I frankly owe him my career. I was in class with him. It was a maritime transportation class, and he saw my passion for maritime transportation. And as a student, often you don't know how to foster that passion, but your professors do. And so, I happened to be in like an accounting class or something, and he pulled me out of class and said, there is an internship opportunity at a fleet in Duluth, and you need this job. And I got that internship, and I was an intern for 13 months before I became a member of their official staff. And so I think my big takeaway is to, really grab onto those relationships, make the best out of your time at college, and make the relationships with the people that will help you grow and prosper. And I think those are really your advisors and your professors, and you'll find a couple that you click with and run with it.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I mean, I really hear in that story, it was a lot more than just getting a degree. It was those connections that you made that really got you to where you are today. And then Colin.
Yeah, I think Kate had a really good point about the third person or outside perspective. Seeing something in yourself that maybe you don't pick up on right away. I agree that advisors, faculty are great resources. I would also say that if your school has an alumni network, it would be worth looking into that to see what other people, specifically within the field you're looking at, but just broadly, see what other people are doing with their degrees and see if anything clicks with you. I would also say from my own personal experience, I don't know whether I'd call this a strong recommendation or not with all the different hats I've worn. But, if you find something that you thought was working for you that you find maybe isn't in the way that you expected it to, don't be afraid to make a change. It took me some time to figure out what I wanted to do. Some things that you think you may have a passion for, you get into and find out that the minutia of that, drags you down a little bit more than you expected. And you may find yourself in a profession or industry that you never expected to be in that really challenges and fulfills you. So, 10 years ago, I would not have guessed that this is where I would have landed, but I'm very happy to have been here now. So.
Great.
Colin, great point. And I'm just going to add quickly to that. Take an internship when you can, job shadow as often as you can, because those opportunities are not just them looking at you, but it's you looking internal at them too. So you get to understand better what a business has to offer internally. So it's not just about the job, it's about the culture. So make sure you take a good look at those things as well.
Definitely great points. And I just want to pause a minute and see if we have any other questions. So we'll just wait a minute. I know sometimes it's frightening to come off of mute, but Brooke and Christine and William, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask.
Well, Colin, this is Christine. And I apologize. Usually I'm a big fan of, use cameras, but we're getting there. New technology. I would say, from the perspective, I love all those points around the two, differences between Kate and Colin, what you guys presented. I also didn't know that adventure park was there. I knew the port was there because how can you not know that? But just learning about the importance of what it does for us. I mean, I had no idea, right? When you start talking about how it connects to the rest of everything, it's like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And then selfishly, Colin, I think, oh boy, I would love to connect or partner to talk about running a seasonal business, talk about how you recruit, how you hire, because I do believe as well that anytime we have somebody that is working with us, it's an opportunity to give them more than just the paycheck or just the exact job description. That mentorship, that what you can learn, all those pieces is so amazing. And you never know the connections you're going to make or where they land. But it is unique to have a business that is, not remote, but somewhat remote and seasonal, right? And then being able to retain talent, find new talent. But I love those points, all the points that we've talked about already. So.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely presents a lot of unique challenges. And one of the reasons that I try and focus as much as I do on, cultivating employees that want to think of this more as a career than just something to do over their summer, is because, personally as the park manager, I want them to be ambassadors to tell other people, what a great experience this is employment wise. I also want to spread the idea that, something as fun and exciting and challenging as this industry can be a career for people. I think one of the things that we've struggled with as a seasonal business on the North Shore is the idea that it is so transitory. And if that is what someone is looking for, we can accommodate that. But there's so much more opportunity in the challenge course industry for people to explore that I think tends to get missed. So that's definitely one of the primary reasons I'm here today.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one. I'd first like to thank you, both Colin and Kate, for presenting to us today, and even for just a small audience and providing insight into each of your organizations that you work for. I guess I was curious, as a student and trying to figure out what I would like to do. I guess I was curious if you guys would be willing to share a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis in your job.
Sure. My job is never the same, quite on a day-to-day basis. So thanks for the question, but it's a little challenging to answer. Really, my job it focuses on the three areas of our mission. So bring business to the port, economic development to the region, and advocate. So for instance, today, I started with a meeting with the city of Duluth to talk about cruising. Yes, I'm involved in the cruising project here in Duluth because it brings business to the port. So that's very interesting to us. Then I went to a hazardous materials by road webinar. Now I'm here talking to you this afternoon. Later this afternoon, I'm going to be on a marketing meeting. And so it's really dependent upon the day. I travel quite a bit, so I probably travel 1 week out of the month on average. So there are some months I don't travel at all, and then others I travel a lot. I do a lot of advocacy for our commodities and as well as sales and marketing for our facilities. So I go to Europe usually once a year, maybe once every other year, to advocate on behalf of the Port of Duluth Superior and Highway H2O. I go to a lot of commodity conferences. So one of our largest export cargoes is wheat. And so I do a lot of learning about wheat commodity, talking to farmers, talking to facilities managers, talking to railroads, talking to shippers, and then also going to conferences about those commodities. And really that's to support my advocacy role in those commodities. So And then, of course, I work a lot with our economic development folks, making sure that, as Allie pointed out earlier, we were in a meeting last week, you know, the port has a huge workforce need. So I helped lead up a charge to make workforce and in and around the port kind of a front, and make sure that people know about it and connect people. And really at the Port Authority, that's a lot of what we do. I can't do the workforce work, but I can take the people that know workforce and the businesses that are there and connect them. And really, we are that conduit that helps connect the port businesses to maybe some resources they didn't know they had. So I'm sorry I don't have like a flat answer for you, because I'm kind of all over the place. But those are some examples of what I do every day.
Yeah, my day to day is also extremely fluid. Perhaps for a little bit of a different reason, because we are in a seasonal business. The flow of what my day-to-day looks like will change based on the season, month, even week, or day of the week. So during the winter, our off season, such as right now, a lot of my time is spent in the administrative side, working with our marketing teams, working on group sales, kind of behind the scenes IT work on our reservation systems. Not to dive too deeply into all of that, but it's taking more of a backseat away from the on-site park activities that I think a lot of people associate with what we do, to spend a lot more time creating the scaffolding, the infrastructure that's going to allow us to be the most successful that we can. So I mentioned that, you know, there is a professional conference for our industry. I just returned from that a couple weeks ago, and integrating all that information, finding out, you know, what the best new practices in the industry are, what new pieces of equipment or, you know, vendors are out there and what they're doing, you know, rewriting our training curriculum. That's all stuff that goes in to what I do in the off season. And I think that is, I guess, reflective of success in any business. The more you prepare and the more lead up work you can do, the more successful that you'll be. Ounce of prevention, pound of cure type ideas. When it comes to a seasonal business in the on season, it can be hectic and frantic and high pressure, but that is the industry that I kind of thrive in. So it's something for me that keeps me on my toes, keeps me sharp and focused. You know, when we talk about, you know, experiencing different industries and finding out what their culture is like Kate mentioned, take those internships, because you could find out that you really enjoy that, you know, more high pressure focused environment versus something that's going to have you sit back a little bit further. So for me, I struggle a little bit in the off season, you know, just to keep myself moving forward, because I thrive so much on that excitement and energy that the adventure park industry brings, which is why I like it so much. So yeah, roundabout answer, but it is a complicated one to put to words sometimes.
But I think, Colin, I agree. Sometimes some people thrive in that high pace environment. I did when I worked in on the vessel side. I think it's interesting to watch over your career what you thrive on. Like now, that job to me is like, I don't know how I went to college and got, you know, I have no idea how I did all of that. So it's interesting to watch over your career. But William, the other thing I would say is, you know, as a college student, you are learning how to network, and you're learning about all of these maybe people skills, how to professionally network with one another. And I would say in my job, that conduit piece isn't possible without networking piece. So if I don't create relationships with all of the people around me, I'm not going to be a good conduit. And I have a feeling that Colin probably has a portion of that in his job as well. So honestly, take that networking and learning those people skills and learning how to network and make connections and relationships portion of your degree to heart, because no matter what industry you're in, that is going to be a really important piece.
Wow, thank you. Thank you both. Another huge thank you to Kate and Colin for being here today and for your presentations. Thank you for the good questions and answers. I hate to cut the conversations short, but we're out of time. But such a great conversation and so many new things that we're able to learn about today. So I just have a couple of closing business type things. Our next business meet and greet will be Tuesday, March 22nd at 12 p.m. So same time. Same date actually too. It's February 22nd today. March 22nd is the next one. And then our Student Connect session, which are part of the business meet and greets, are part of that Student Connect program that we're hosting this year, that NorthForce is hosting, will be on Tuesday, March 1st. So that's next Tuesday at 12 p.m. And thank you again for everybody who was here today. Thank you, Kate and Colin, for those presentations. We appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck plowing out.
Thanks so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you all.